Hello, my name is Rabbi Beharana Gutierrez, and today I'd like to talk about a very important work in the study of Conversos and Crypto-Judaism. It's the book written by Benzion Netanyahu, the father of the current Prime Minister of the State of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu. The title is The Marranos of Spain. There had certainly been works published before this time, Cecil Roth's History of the Marranos in 1932, or Yitzhak Bear's History of the Jews of Christian Spain, especially the second volume, focused on Conversos and Crypto-Judaism to a certain extent. Benzion Netanyahu's work was very controversial in the 1960s, and there have been other editions of this that have been printed more recently, because he challenged the notion that the majority of Conversos were faithful to Judaism. What Benzion Netanyahu did is that he rejected the Inquisitional records as authentic, in the sense that he did not believe that they reflected the true condition of most conversos. He believed that the Inquisition was motivated by anti-Semitism, and that the inquisitors were essentially falsifying the evidence or creating evidence against conversos for the purpose of destroying the conversos as an economic and social class. What's interesting about the book, even though it goes against the grain of most scholarship on the question of Crypto-Judaism, and even my own perspectives on Crypto-Judaism, I do believe that a great deal of conversos were faithful to Judaism in some form or another, although it's very complex. What he does do that's interesting is that he looks at rabbinic responsa. Rabbinic responsa is essentially when a person or a community in one area writes to another, to a rabbi, asking them for their opinion and their perspective on a specific issue. So, for example, if you were in Spain and you had a married couple of conversos, and they had married in accordance with Jewish practice. Let's say they had two witnesses, but the two witnesses were also conversos. They were Jews who had been forcibly converted to Christianity. Did those witnesses constitute kosher witnesses, as is required by Jewish law to authenticate a marriage? Is a ketubah, is a marriage document that conversos like this signed, is that valid as a marriage? Let's say that couple were to flee to North Africa, to Jewish communities that were able to openly practice Judaism. Would the ketubah hold weight because the witnesses were individuals that, even if they were sincere in their observance of Judaism, were technically Christian and were living a secret Jewish life as opposed to an open one? So that would entail them probably violating aspects of Jewish law like Sabbath observance or even the laws of kashrut. So he does delve into that. There's been a lot of criticism about how he does that, because oftentimes what happens is he seems to look at only certain perspectives of a question or an answer, basically to present his own bias and his own conviction that most conversos were not religiously observant. And I think that if you look at his work and some of the subsequent works that have been written by him, you do find that the entire picture is not presented. I've looked at rabbinic responsa, and certainly other individuals have, and the situation is much more complex, because you're dealing with a group of individuals that are very diverse in terms of their experience and their knowledge base of Jewish practice. They have to be considerate of Christian oversight, and of course eventually the Inquisition as we move forward into the 1400s. And simply the diversity of the Jewish community itself. And so I think that if you look at rabbinic responsa, you can draw a very different picture than what Benzion Netanyahu presents. But in any case, the fact that he wrote on this subject and devoted so much time to it, it highlights how important this subject is and how it spurred additional discussion and review of this material. Most scholars today believe that the Inquisitional records are a source of material that has to be consulted. When you're talking about Crypto-Judaism or Conversos, it's not to be rejected like Benzion Netanyahu or Norman Roth, his literary protege, would argue. But I think that the fact that they present some challenges to it is good. I mean, we always have to have a little bit of a challenge to make sure that the positions that we take are grounded and well established. So if you're new to the study of Crypto-Judaism, I would encourage this book as a source, good source text. But as long as you understand that it's not the definitive view on this subject, and that you really do have to consult a number of other works. Of course, it's available on a variety of different bookstores online, Amazon and Barnes & Nobles. and I'm sure there are plenty of used copies as well. But it's a good starting point, as long as you keep in mind that there are plenty of other perspectives on this issue. And I'll continue to review other important works in the subject of Crypto-Judaism and Conversos in subsequent videos.